So now I'm going to start with adding gender to nouns or noun class. Like I'm going to keep the strings as English, and like so this is like supposed to be a language independent tutorial, but I'm just going to use English here. But I mean, English doesn't even have gender in the nouns, but we'll just pretend it has, and then this will be useful for someone who wants to do a mini or micro grammar for a language that actually has a gender. Okay, so we start from linkats. So this is like, yeah, you know, like, well, I hope you know if you're watching this that in abstract syntax you have cat, and concrete syntax you have linkat. So the a noun gender or a noun class is an inherent feature of nouns. Okay, so we'll just remove these from there, and also common nouns and noun phrases. So let's just do the simplest possible thing. We will need to revise this later, but just, you know, one step at a time. So S string and G for gender. Now, okay, actually this is kind of, now the first thing is, okay, well, we have no such thing as gender here yet, so we actually need to, like, you know, if we try to compile this now, you'll get an error. Grammar dummy, microlang dummy. Yeah, constant not found gender. Yeah, so this is like completely expected. So we'll need to add a parameter type called gender. Okay, so this is like also like one the best tip you can do. I mean, just compile it as often as possible. Like when you add something, just compile it so that you don't write 100 lines of code and then find it doesn't compile, and then you're wondering like, where is the error? So compile often. So parameters are made with the keyword param. So the name is gender, because I wrote gender here. I mean, I could even call it like, let's call it noun class to be just class 1 and class 2. You can, in your grammar, you can say this is gender and this is feminine, masculine, maybe neuter, or it can be anything else. Okay, so now we have something. So let's compile and let's see where it fails this time. Yeah. Missing record fields, G type of Pron. Yes, okay. So this is actually a very, like, we actually notice an unexpected error here. Like, you know, so this might be a bit confusing, but here we have a function, use Pron, which makes pronoun into an NP. And so this error here is complaining that missing record fields G type of Pron. Because like I wrote this function originally when all linkats were of the same type, just string. So then like this use Pron is just a coercion function. It doesn't add anything. I mean, in the case where everything is just strings, it doesn't add anything to the linearization. It just it just like makes the pronoun into a noun phrase. So when everything was just strings, this was enough. But okay, now actually, I mean, if we think about it, like if we have a language where nouns have some kind of noun class or gender, well, maybe we can assume that pronouns also have. Like, you know, you might want to say that the, like, you know, the, let's say feminine noun is blue, a masculine noun is blue, and then the word blue has to inflect differently. So then it would also be the same if we say that she is blue or he is blue. So like I said, this tells us that actually we want to also have pronouns to have an inherent gender. So let's add this here. Okay. And compile again. And now we're getting the errors that I was actually expecting. So, okay, so I mean, this is also completely expected because we've so far only changed the lincat, but not the lins, like the linearizations of the functions. Okay, so two functions, det_cn and edge_cn. Let's scroll down. So det_cn takes a det and cn and forms an NP. And here we can see that it's constructing a record that has only one field, S. But like, okay, so this is actually, this is not very difficult because like we don't actually have to make new decisions, because if we say that a noun or a CN, common noun, has a gender, and then the NP that it's like the NP that is made of the same common noun, it should have the same gender. I mean, okay, there can be languages where actually adding a determiner could change the gender, but let's assume that in this case it doesn't. So this record that det_cn constructs needs to be syntactically correct. If we check here again, the lincat of MP has one field that is a string and another field that is a gender or noun class, whichever. So then we need to have that field here too. So we add g equals cn.g. Okay, and compile. Okay, that error disappeared. So we have the exact same error in edge_cn. But we know already how to fix this. So we have the same issue here. Like now it's just something that we construct a record that only has an S field, but we need to make it into a record that also has a G field. And we know that the CN already is supposed to have one. Like, I mean, we can apply some wishful thinking here. Like, I mean, we will get new errors after this that will show that actually this G field is never made into the CN because we haven't added it yet. But like, I mean, that's just the order in which the compiler gives us the errors. We might as well, like, I mean, I don't really need to think. I just compile and the compiler tells me where to fix it incrementally. So like the compiler is really doing you a favor. Okay, so g equals cn.g. Because also like, I mean, there can certainly be a language in which the gender noun class of the noun changes when you add an adjective, but let's just have some standard average European where it doesn't happen. So, okay. And now I'm compiling and I'm going to see the new errors. Yay! So many. Nice. Okay. Okay. So now we're into constructing these. Like we're actually gotten as far down as we've gotten to lexical functions. So let's see. They, Pron. So in all of these functions, he pron, she pron, they pron, I'm using this oper, like it's like just like a shorthand that's a helper function called mkpron. And you see the issue here, like I created it when all of the lincats were just a record with a string. So now I need to fix that thing first here. I mean, just a side note, if you look at other grammars, like this syntax is actually a bit like we prefer to have actually named categories, but I'm just trying to be like not very syntax heavy because this is a beginner resource, but hope you don't get confused. So this mkpron, I'm going to have it return so a string and then G, which is a noun class. That's also one point of like having a good editor. Like, I mean, just an editor that is meant for programming languages, because it can tell me what's in scope. 'Cause that was really stupid of, I can tell it was stupid of me to call this G, like name this G and then like call it noun class. So I might start trying to write gen. Oh, there is no, it doesn't give me any help here. So like, oh, right, I called it noun class. And now here I can see it. Yes, noun class, that's what I want it to be. So now, like, the question here is, should these be in different noun classes? So, I mean, if I would know that all pronouns in my language are in the same noun class, then I could do, for instance, this. Pron just takes a string and returns, let's say all pronouns are in class 1. Okay, so this is a completely valid, I think these three errors here are going to disappear now after I do this. Yes, but like, let's say that maybe your language actually has like a something where pronouns also have an inherent gender. So let's say, so in that case, like, this is stupid because now I have suddenly made he, she, and they into the same noun class. So what we can do is to make this constructor take 2 arguments instead. So a string noun class to this record of those 2. So then I add it here. It takes 2 arguments now, and this class 1 is replaced by a class. Okay, what have I forgotten? Let's try to compile. Okay. Oh, this is actually funny. Like, I actually introduced an error, but, well, the compiler is looking at these things in order, so it doesn't actually give me this error before I fix the one with animal. So, yeah. Well, okay, my error was that I didn't actually give the new argument here. Like, I'm still calling Pron with just 1 argument instead of 2. So let's see. He is class 2. She is whatever, class 1. They is class 2. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's go and fix the error with this mkn now, and then, like, we will see that, okay, this there is no more error here. So here I've made, again, mkn for making nouns, and again I wrote this when all the categories were just record of strings. So first of all, let's change this. Yeah, and as I said before, like, there are smarter ways of doing this, but just trying to be not syntax heavy right now. So, well, let's see what it says now. Yeah, so you see, this was actually a different error now. Like, this was missing record fields. It's actually a shame that it's showing all the warnings. But let me just show you these 2 errors side by side. This error was the one that was before I had added this into the result type of mkn, the return type, and this error is after. So now, yeah, right. Also, like, this first one is actually complaining about the linearization of animal. And now this is localizing it. Like, it's already finding a fault in the operation mkn. So if we look at this error message here and look at this code, like this should be pretty clear. Like it's claiming that it should return a record with 2 fields, but I'm actually constructing just one record with 1 field. So let's see, G equals class 2, just to make it compile. We'll make it make sense later. Yeah, okay, look. So this is the first time actually this grammar compiles since I added this thing here. Since I added this new linkat. So I had to push compile how many times? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 11 times. I made 11 changes, and after that it actually started compiling again. So this is completely normal. Yeah, so grammar is like a big interconnected thing, so you can't just change one thing and have it work right away. But, okay, so if we actually, I'm going to, so this keyword retain means that we can keep the operas. So we can now, I can use this cc, which means compute concrete. I can actually use this mkn function. Mkn, let's say house. And yeah, we see that, okay, this is creating now, like, it's creating nouns which are all in class 2. Like, yeah, let's say something else, like ice cream. Yeah, and it's still in class 2 because, you know, we hard-coded it here. So it's not surprising. But again, let's say that so there are 2 options. Like, I guess realistically speaking, like most languages don't have a sure way of saying like which noun class a word is. Like, I mean, there are a lot of tendencies, like, you know, say in Spanish, like most nouns that end in A are feminine, but there are still a lot of exceptions and so on. So it's probably makes sense to have this mkn constructor to have 2 arguments as well. So noun class string to noun class, 2 arguments, string and noun class, no, and it returns a record with those. And so now we have an error again. So I mean, I acknowledge that these are not very helpful, like how they are formulated. Record type expected in type checking instead of noun class arrow, a record of string and noun class. So like if you're new to programming, like this is just completely like, incomprehensible. Yeah, so like, I mean, this, like if you see these arrows there, these are like, these arrows are like, they can separate the arguments and the return type of a function. And maybe you can say that, like, so like it says record type expected instead of a function. We know it's a function because there is an arrow between those 2 thingies. But like basically the thing is that mkn is a function with 2 arguments, and here we have only given it 1 argument. So like what happens is if you just like apply mkn to one of its arguments, you don't get a record, you get a function from a noun class to a record. And this is what this is telling you. Like, you know, this noun class arrow s colon string, it's the same as that thing here. So it's telling you that, like, you know, we thought that mkn would give you a record, but oh shit, it's giving me something like a function. So we need to add the other argument here. yeah, let's call it NC again, and then replace this here. So now we're going to get an error in, again, now we're going to get the error here with animal instead of just the MKN itself. Yeah, so now we know already, like, I mean, the function is now defined correctly. It's getting 2 arguments and returning a record. So we can even align this like this, so it's more clear what it's like, arguments and return type. But here the animal is like, I mean, this MKN is only applied to 1 argument, so we need to give it another argument. So let's say it's class 1. And now compile, yay.